Eli Grant didn't realize that securing his own internet would be the spark that set an entire neighborhood ablaze. It started with something simple, routine even. The kind of task you do while sipping lukewarm coffee in sweatpants on a slow Sunday evening. Eli, a cybersecurity consultant who worked remotely from his cozy two-story in Brookvale Ridge, had noticed his connection lagging lately. Not unusual, except he lived alone and had the best router money could buy. He decided to check the traffic. What he found sent his eyebrows climbing up past his forehead. 13 devices. 5 more than he owned. He scratched his chin and shook his head. Someone nearby was leeching off his Wi-Fi. The data logs didn't lie. Phones, tablets, a gaming console, and even a smart fridge, none of which belonged to him, were piggybacking on his connection. Without a second thought, Eli changed his password. A simple fix, clean and legal. What he didn't expect was a midnight knock on his front door. It was 12:07 a.m. to be exact when the pounding started, sharp and insistent. He threw on a hoodie, shuffled down the stairs, and opened the door. 2 police officers stood on his porch, faces half-shadowed by the glow of their flashlights. And standing proudly behind them, arms crossed and lips curled in righteous fury, was Karen Chase, his neighbor from 2 houses down and the self-appointed vice president of the Brookvale HOA. "Sir," one of the officers said, barely masking his boredom, "we received a report about unauthorized internet access. Your neighbor alleges that you've tampered with her Wi-Fi." Eli blinked. "Her what?" Karen stepped forward, her perfume wafting through the chilly air like a cloud of bad decisions. "Don't play dumb," she snapped. "You hacked into my internet and shut it down. I don't know how you did it, but I know it was you." Eli stood speechless for a second, then let out a sharp laugh. "Wait, you think I hacked your Wi-Fi? Karen, I pay for my own. In fact, that's my router in my house." Karen's eyes flared. "Exactly. And for months, my son and I have been using it just fine until you changed something." For a moment, even the officers seemed to pause at the boldness of her confession. "So, you've been using my Wi-Fi?" Eli asked slowly. Karen scoffed like he was being ridiculous. "It's a community network. We share here. Brookvale Ridge is about togetherness." The older officer coughed awkwardly. "Ma'am, your neighbor has the right to secure his network. It's his personal service." Karen's voice pitched higher. "Well, now my son can't do his homework." Eli raised an eyebrow. "You mean your son who yells into his headset at 2 a.m. playing Call of Duty? That homework?" The younger officer looked like he was suppressing a laugh. The older one rubbed his temples. "Sir, do you wish to press charges? Technically, using someone's private network without permission is considered theft." Eli shook his head. "No, I just want to go back to sleep." They nodded, turned to Karen, and issued a final warning. "Ma'am, please use your own internet. If you're experiencing issues, contact your provider." Karen glared at Eli like she just lost a court battle, stormed off, and hissed, "This isn't over." Eli closed the door behind him, chuckling under his breath. But the next morning, things got strange. His mailbox was stuffed with letters, each one handwritten, in all-cap scrawl. "Shame on you for destroying community spirit," read one. Another warned, "God sees everything." The most bizarre was a petition titled, "Bring Back the Wi-Fi," signed a dozen times, each signature suspiciously similar in its shaky cursive. Then the rumors began. At the coffee shop, retirees in pastel sweaters whispered behind their mugs. "That's the guy," one said. "The hacker." At the grocery store, a dad physically pulled his child away from Eli in the frozen food aisle. The mailman didn't meet his eyes. It was as if Karen had spread a full-blown urban legend, the man who broke the community's sacred internet. He laughed it off, until that night. That's when he saw it. While double-checking his router, he noticed something disturbing. A device was still connected to his network. It didn't match any of his own. And it wasn't Karen's phone or her son's Xbox either. This device had been bouncing through VPNs, logging into financial accounts, accessing cloud wallets. It was running quietly in the background, like a digital parasite. Eli's stomach turned. This wasn't leeching Wi-Fi anymore. It was cybercrime. And the IP? It traced directly back to Karen Chase's house. He stared at the logs. This wasn't a fluke. The timestamps matched late-night hours, always active when the neighborhood was asleep. The more he scrolled, the more he saw stolen logins, cryptocurrency transfers, even remote access into banking software. It hit him like a punch to the gut. Someone in Karen's house wasn't just freeloading. They were laundering data. Eli didn't sleep that night. Not because of fear, but because his mind had shifted into full tactical mode. He hadn't worked years in cybersecurity for nothing. The patterns were all their classic signs of a layered laundering operation: obfuscated data trails, proxy tunneling, even repeated logins into decentralized exchanges. Someone inside Karen Chase's house was exploiting his network not for casual freeloading, but for serious digital crime. And if the feds caught wind of the source being traced to his network, he'd be on the hook. Eli opened up a private terminal window, cracked his knuckles, and deployed a custom program he hadn't touched since leaving his last job. He nicknamed it the Lantern, a passive network trap that lured in rogue users by mimicking a free public Wi-Fi hotspot. It was technically legal, but only just. Most people wouldn't recognize it unless they were trained in intrusion detection. This wasn't just bait. It was a spotlight. He named the new network something generic, Brookvale_guest_free_5G, and left the password field blank. Then he waited. It didn't even take 15 minutes. A device pinged the trap. Same MAC address, same strange behavior. Except this time, Eli had deeper access. He watched as the device's user navigated through private dashboards. There were folders labeled ACC_data, wallet_keys, and stream_rips. Within seconds, the device connected to a crypto wallet interface, then launched into an encrypted chat server. Whoever this was, they were active. Eli's fingers flew across the keyboard as he began tracing the server's destination. He captured packets, timestamps, and location metadata. It all matched Karen's house. No mistake. Then he saw it, a folder labeled Bulk Targets, Brookvale Ridge. Eli's breath caught. Inside, he found a file list of names, addresses, and social security numbers of people in the neighborhood. His neighborhood. It wasn't just cyber theft. It was identity harvesting. He sat back for a second, stunned. He had enough evidence to justify a federal investigation. But before he handed anything over, he wanted to confront Karen, if for nothing else, then to see her face when the curtain got pulled back. The next morning, he walked straight up to her porch with a folder in hand. His expression was calm, unshakable. The man who just wanted to change his Wi-Fi password was gone. In his place was the guy who now held the power to shatter the whole illusion Karen had built around her perfect little HOA life. She opened the door with a roll of her eyes. "Oh, what now? Did I water my lawn too loud this morning?" Eli handed her the papers. "This is about your son." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me. I have logs showing a device inside your house, accessing my network, hacking into financial systems, pulling credit card info. It's not just freeloading anymore. It's fraud." Karen scoffed and flipped through the papers. "I don't even know what this technobabble means. Is this some kind of threat?" Eli didn't answer, but her face did, because suddenly, her smirk faltered. Her eyes darted back to a particular page, the connection logs with the device name highlighted in red. She froze, then slowly turned her head toward the staircase behind her. "Zachary!" she yelled. The shift was immediate. From upstairs, heavy footsteps thudded. A tall, wiry teenager came into view, hoodie half-zipped, headphones slung around his neck, and eyes already wide. Zach Chase. Eli had barely spoken 2 words to him in the past year, but now, every instinct screamed that this was the guy. Karen waved the papers. "Explain." "Now." Zach's eyes flicked to the folder, then to Eli. His knuckles turned white as he gripped his laptop tighter. "I don't know what that is," he mumbled. Karen snapped. "Don't lie to me. I'm not." He insisted, but his voice cracked, giving him away. "Give me the laptop," she said sharply. "No, Mom, stop." Zach stepped back, but she was already lunging. She snatched it out of his hands in one swift motion and stormed past him, holding it like she had just found a live grenade in her pantry. She slammed it down on the living room table and opened it. Eli stood silently as the screen lit up. There it was, a spreadsheet full of stolen logins, password files, crypto wallet backups, even receipts of digital asset transfers, some small, others worth thousands of dollars. Karen's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Eli watched the panic settle in her face. She had thought she was dealing with a nosy neighbor, a nuisance, a man who dared change his password without her approval. She hadn't expected this. What have you been doing?" she whispered. Zach's voice shook. "It's just streaming stuff. It's not like I'm hurting anybody." "Then what's this?" Eli cut in, pointing to a file labeled ssn_export.csv. Zach went pale. Karen clutched the edge of the table like it might collapse beneath her. Then, as though her brain was grasping for any exit, she spun around and hissed, "You did this." Eli frowned. "I'm sorry." "What?" "You tricked him. You baited him." You probably planted all this. Eli crossed his arms. Karen, I changed my Wi-Fi password. You called the cops on me. Then your kid kept hacking from my network. She wasn't listening. Her hands were shaking. Her voice cracked. We can fix this, okay? You don't have to say anything. I can't. I can bake you something. Chocolate chip? I have a great recipe. I'm gluten intolerant. Karen's face twisted. Fine. I'll pay you. No amount of money is going to undo what's on that laptop. Please, she whispered. Then I'll knock at the door. 3 firm pounds. Followed by a low voice. This is the FBI. We need to speak with Zachary Chase. Eli didn't smile. But inside, something settled. Not victory. Not satisfaction. Just relief. The knock wasn't just loud. It was final. It echoed through the Chase household like a death toll. Karen froze. Her pupils dilated. Zach's knees visibly buckled. Eli remained where he was, arms crossed, watching the chaos bloom like mold in a damp basement. This is the FBI. We need to speak with Zachary Chase. Karen spun around, wild-eyed. You called them. Eli didn't answer. He didn't have to. Her breathing turned shallow, erratic. She looked at Zach, who was already backing away toward the stairs, panic blossoming in his face like a slow, spiraling collapse. Delete everything, she hissed. Mom, that's not going to help. Zach protested. Gio, she screamed. Zach hesitated for a moment too long, laptop still gripped in his hands. Karen lunged at him, trying to snatch it again, but this time, Eli stepped forward. Don't, he said calmly. You're only making it worse. But Karen wasn't hearing anything except the beating of her own frayed nerves. Another knock. Harder. Mrs. Chase, open the door. We have a warrant. That word hit her like a slap. Warrant. Karen turned to Eli, sweat glistening on her forehead. You set us up. You planted that file, didn't you? You've been out to get us since the day you moved in. Eli blinked. Karen, you literally shouted delete everything 30 seconds ago. Zach groaned. Mom, stop. Please. Karen grabbed her son by the shoulders and shook him. You don't say another word. You deny everything. Everything. The door pounded again. Louder. Urgent. Then it happened. Karen turned, not toward the door, but toward the living room window, and ran. Eli's eyes widened. You've got to be kidding me. Karen hurled herself at the closed window like a poorly scripted action hero. Glass shattered in every direction. She tumbled outside, crashed into the garden, and landed face first in a pile of decorative gnomes. Eli walked over and peeked through the jagged glass. Karen was moaning, twisted between ceramic beards and shattered mulch. I'm innocent, she gasped. At that exact moment, the front door slammed open. 3 FBI agents flooded in like a tactical wave. Dark suits, badges, and earpieces. One of them grabbed Zach and pulled the laptop from his stunned grip. Another scanned the living room, taking quick inventory. The third paused at the broken window. We might need a medic for that one. Zach raised his hand slowly. I surrender, he said, voice cracking. Can we just get this over with? An agent turned to Eli. You the one who reported the network breach? Eli nodded. Didn't think it'd turn into a full-on sting operation, though. The agent smirked. We've been tracking this kid for a while. Cross-state identity fraud. Thousands of records. Your report helped us lock down the physical source. Eli blinked. Cross-state. Yep. We're talking federal charges. Zach groaned like his soul had been punctured. Oh, come on. Outside, Karen was still flailing in the dirt. You can't arrest a child, she screeched. He's just a boy. The agent nearest the window called back. He's 18, ma'am. Legally an adult. No, she wailed, flinging a gnome across the lawn. Eli muttered. That poor gnome didn't deserve this. The agents restrained Zach, secured the laptop, and began leading him outside. Karen scrambled to her feet and bolted after them. Wait. I'll get a lawyer. I know people. The door slammed shut behind them. Eli was left standing in a house full of broken glass, legal documents, and the lingering scent of burnt lavender air freshener. He walked slowly toward the counter, where the folder of fake petitions still sat. Make Eli share the Wi-Fi, scribbled across the top in different markers. He shook his head. And then, silence. The kind of silence you notice after a storm has passed. The kind you don't realize you've missed until it wraps around you like a warm, weighted blanket. For the first time in weeks, the house next door was quiet. Truly, beautifully, blissfully quiet. Sang Ham Sao. Tinlon RA and Han Nu Lua Muako. Karen Chase's house was empty. Her son was facing multiple federal charges. Her reign of HOA entitlement had finally collapsed like a house of cards built in a wind tunnel. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact with Eli now gave him solemn nods, respectful glances, even half-smiles. By noon, Karen was seen frantically packing a moving truck, red-faced and muttering to herself, while loading plastic bins filled with foam marble garden angels. George, the retiree who walked his dog at 11 a.m. sharp every day, paused by Eli's yard and gave him a knowing look. I heard Karen's moving out. Eli watered his succulents, barely holding back a grin. Yep, he said. George chuckled. Guess that means you won. Eli looked around, took a deep breath of the fresh, uncorrupted air, and smiled wider. Oh, he said, I definitely won. For most neighborhoods, gossip is a sport. In Brookvale Ridge, it was a full-contact obsession. By 7 a.m. the next morning, the HOA group chat, once filled with casserole recipes and passive-aggressive lawn complaints, had exploded into a digital courtroom. Screenshots of the FBI arriving. Video snippets from Ring doorbells. Speculation about what exactly Zach Chase had done. Theories ranged from international espionage to maybe he just streamed too many pirated movies. But Eli knew better. He had seen the files. The hard evidence. This wasn't just a tech-savvy teenager acting out. It was organized, systematic, and dangerous. What most people didn't know, what Eli hadn't shared publicly, was that Zach's laptop had included a folder labeled Red Access. Inside, a tool set for breaching two-factor authentication, one typically only seen in dark web circles. That was the part the FBI had really cared about. That was why they moved so fast. And yet, Brookvale Ridge responded the only way it knew how. With a bake sale. Yes. By Sunday, HOA President Mrs. Cranston sent out an official newsletter titled Restoring Community Spirit After the Chase Incident. Included were details for a Justice and Unity cookie swap on the cul-de-sac. There were flyers, decorations, even t-shirts. Karen's face, however, was nowhere to be found. She had vanished, gone overnight like a storm cloud that forgot to rain. No social media updates. No final HOA tantrum. No farewell message blaming Eli for ruining everything. Except for one thing. On Monday morning, a small manila envelope appeared on Eli's porch. There was no return address. No note. Inside was a USB stick. Eli stared at it for several minutes. His instincts screamed at him to burn it, toss it, report it. But curiosity won. He booted up his old air-gapped laptop, the kind he used only for risky investigations, and plugged it in. One file. To the hacker who won. He opened it. A single video. Grainy, vertical, clearly recorded in a dark motel room. Karen Chase sat on a bed, arms folded, face drained of all pretense. You think you're clever, she began, her voice flat. But you and I both know this isn't over. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the lens. You exposed my son. You ruined our life. But I'm not done yet. I know things. HOA secrets. Things that would make your skin crawl. And I kept records. She held up a notebook. The camera zoomed awkwardly as she flipped pages, blurred photos, account numbers, addresses. You see, Brookvale Ridge isn't just a neighborhood. It's a funnel. A test site. You thought Zach was the problem? He was just a spark. She leaned back, lips curling into something between a smile and a sneer. And you're standing too close to the fire. The video cut off. Eli sat back, heart pounding, not from fear, but calculation. Was it a bluff? A desperate woman trying to claw back some semblance of power? Or was Karen telling the truth? He copied the file, encrypted it, and stored it in multiple locations. Then he called a friend, an old contact from his cybersecurity days. Someone with the right kind of clearance. The next day, black SUVs rolled into Brookvale Ridge again. But this time, they didn't stop at Eli's door. They stopped at the HOA building. 2 weeks later, Brookvale Ridge's HOA was suspended under federal review. The president resigned. Multiple board members were subpoenaed. Funds were frozen. A forensic audit revealed over $300,000 in misappropriated neighborhood funds, some of which had been funneled through shell accounts in Zach's name. And Karen? She was never seen again. Some said she fled to Arizona under a different name. Others whispered she had been relocated under a sealed witness protection program. One neighbor swore they saw her working the register at a diner off I-90, wearing oversized sunglasses and an even larger chip on her shoulder. But Eli didn't care. He changed his Wi-Fi password again, just in case. And this time, the network name? FBI_surveillance_van_3. No one ever tried to connect to it again.